I'm your guide, Sam, and I'm going to be telling you about saving. When I was a Jet, I started off at 3.36 million yen, and now it's at 2.8 million yen. I don't know why it's changed, but I think it kind of has to do with more starting in September than it did start at the beginning of August. So I think with starting a little later, the pays decreased a little bit. I saved about 1 million yen a year. From my first year, I started paying off a lot of loans, so I paid off about $8,300 worth of student loan debt. So I didn't have very much compared to others, but I was able to pay that much off, and I was able to do a lot of traveling. So even from my first year, I could have saved about easily 1 million yen. And that was my target goal every year, just because I had a friend who saved 1 million yen a year, and he was like, yeah, you can do it. It's totally possible. So after my third year, I saved 1 million yen from my second year on Jet. And on the second year, I started up at 3.6 million yen. Now, when you start Jet, you start 2.8 million yen. When you're going to start saving on Jet, you need to look at your take-home salary, and then you need to factor out everything else, like how much rent's going to be, how much taxes are going to be, all this stuff. And you really won't know that until like after your first paycheck, how much everything was taken out. And you might not even really get a good knowledge of how much you'll get back every month until your second or third month, depending on your situation. It's always different. Some people have to buy a car, get a lot of car insurance, some unnecessary money they need to put into their housing budget. Don't expect to just have this idea that every month I'm going to have, 200,000 yen to take home for sure, because it's not going to be like that until you kind of get worked into the system, until you get your phone set up. I'm going to give you an example of how much money I got every month. And from my fourth year, I was getting 3.9 million yen, which is about $40,000. And that is a lot in Japan. Rent, health insurance, taxes, so on. And so every month I had about 220,000 yen left. And then from that 220,000 yen, I would say about 20,000 yen, about $200 worth, was for utilities, such as my electric, water, and phone. That always varied every month. And season, I would say autumn and spring are the best in Japan because you really won't use that much utilities. But in winter and summer, you'll be running air conditioning a lot or the heating a lot, and that will consume a lot. Anyways, let me break down a little bit more out of that 220,000 yen. 30 to 50,000 yen would be for food. Japan really varies on food, the prices. If you go to konbinis a lot and you eat out a lot, expect to spend way more than 50,000 yen. But if you eat at home all the time, you cook your food, you buy stuff like just chicken and rice, super cheap, expect to spend about between 30 and 50,000 or less. So that was about my range. For phone bill, expect to spend around 2,500 to 10,000 yen. And the reason why I say such a large number is if you get a phone through like SoftBank, an iPhone 13 from SoftBank, and you get like their unlimited plan, spend about 10,000 yen, which is quite a lot. Or if you go with a plan from like Line or Rakuten or Eon Mobile, expect to spend like 2,500 yen a month for 5 gigabytes of data. And expect to spend some money on calling too. Calling isn't free in Japan, but it's getting better. Use Line anyways to just get around that, and other phone calling apps. Stuff, car insurance can be 5,000, 10,000 yen. Really, that all varies on your car you get. If you get like a Honda Life and you're an older person, you're not so young, you're like over 25, expect your insurance to be like 5,000 or 6,000 yen a month. There's stuff to factor in for your savings is just medicine. Medicine's super cheap in Japan. I wouldn't expect to spend a lot. Going to the doctors and stuff can be like $10 to $20. Medications, drugs you need, about $30. Need to get my asthma medicine, visit the doctor, inhaler. 90 days of pills is like $30. So it's super cheap just to go to the doctor. That's something you don't have to worry about, especially if you're someone from like America. All those factors considered, I was able to save 1 million yen a year. And when I finished Jet, I had about 3.3 million yen, which is about 33,000 saved up after my last 3 years, plus pension. I think I had about 7,000 or 8,000 in pension saved up too. So I was looking at around $40,000 saved just from my 4 years on Jet. And I would have had more if I didn't have student loans, and if I had stayed a fifth year, I probably would have saved like 50 grand. Because a lot of this just has to do with where you live, cost of living, expenses. The best ways to keep track of your expenses is just like an expense app on your phone. Pocket Expense for a long time on my iPhone, and every time I just recorded everything I bought, and I could see a readout of just how much I spent a month. I did that for like my 4 years on Jet because I really wanted to see spending and just get in the habit of knowing how much I'm going to spend here and there. Give you a good idea of where all your money's going, just to categorize it. Other ways to also save well in Japan is by just going to exploring your surroundings. Don't go to one grocery store all the time. If you go to one grocery store all the time, you'll realize that you're kind of wasting a lot of money just going to one place when there's tons of different local grocers in Japan. I probably went to like 4 or 5 different grocery stores in my area. I got used to knowing which one I could save the most money. Like, oh, here soda and stuff is cheapest here. Oh, here's the best place for bentos. Here's the local farmer's market, the cheapest place for vegetables. So just knowing all of that contributed to me saving. So in Japan, it's really about just going to the different grocers to save money and finding out when something's on sale and who carries what. Thank you for visiting Jet Guide, and I hope you had a great experience, and I'll try and keep out the content. Peace.